Okay, just some quick tips on Edison diamond disc phonographs. Now, if you're buying one of these, or if you've just encountered one and you've never handled one or worked one before, the important thing to take note of is what reproducer the machine has. This is an Edison diamond disc phonograph reproducer. This has a diamond stylus, and this would have been original with this machine. It's intended to play Edison records and Edison records only. So the trick about these, the tricky part about these is that you need to know if the stylus is good. It's a permanent diamond stylus, and in theory it will never need changing, but they do wear out with abuse, overuse, wear. If this gets dropped or damaged in some way, the diamond can shear right off. So it's important to know what reproducer you have and if the stylus is good. So this is ideally what you would find with one of these. You may also find, instead of that or in conjunction with that, you may find an adapter like this. And this adapter uses steel needles. And this is to play standard lateral recordings like Victor records, Columbia records. This was just an attachment you could get to play other makes of record, because this machine with this equipment is set up to only play Edison records and Edison records alone. And you shouldn't intermix formats because it won't work. Like if you play this Edison record on a Victrola, it will probably get destroyed. You cannot mix these. That's I guess the problem with these machines, but it's not really a problem. It's just something to take note of if you're not used to it. So this is set up to play an Edison record right here. But if you're out in the wild and you don't know whether a stylus is good on this machine, short of looking at it under a microscope, you just won't know. So what I do is take the reproducer off if you can take it off. You turn this collar clockwise, and then you pull it out. It may be difficult to get out. It may not come out. But hopefully the one you encounter will come out easily so that you can inspect the stylus, all right? So the stylus is right here. See that? See how it comes to a point there? That's good. That's at least promising if it comes to a point and it feels sharp right there. If it's kind of flattened or it looks like it's broken off, well, then that's what it is. It's broken off and you can't use it. New styli are available, but it's going to probably cost over $100 to get a new stylus. And then I would recommend having it expertly installed because these are a bit fiddly to work on. So if you're encountering this, make sure this looks sharp, feels sharp, and make sure that the string that runs from this hook here to the diaphragm, which is basically rice paper and cork, make sure that the string is still attached. See how there's tension there? And you could probably be very difficult to show on video, but you could see that the string is attached in between there. You can see a string running through, I hope. Those are the two main points. And you also, if possible, want it to be nice and free moving. Sometimes you'll have to oil these back pivots here, but it should have free movement. All right, so if that looks good, and you don't have any other way of inspecting the stylus like a microscope or something to magnify it and check it out, what I recommend doing is finding an Edison record with a lot of shiny space here. See, the recording stops right about there. That's where the grooves stop. And then this is all blank here. Play this blank area and see if the stylus scratches the record. If you don't see any dramatic graying of grooves, then it could be pretty good, and you can take a chance if you want and try to play the record. The stylus may be good. You never know, and it may be causing a bit of wear. It may be worn out, but at least you're not doing, dramatically massive damage to the records. I always recommend having an expert look at these, though, if you intend on playing a lot of Edison records. So, how do you use these? Well, you wind the machine up. It should have moderate tension, but be easy to wind up still. If it just spins freely and you can't get the turntable to rotate, the springs are probably broken. Not a big deal. You can get new springs. Depending on what model, it'll be one or two springs. But hopefully they're not broken. These motors are fairly resilient. If it seems okay and you keep winding, you'll get to a point where it just won't wind anymore. That means it's fully wound. Now to start the turntable, this is the start lever, this is the stop lever. So we start it by pushing it inward. Let the turntable come to speed. Now, to control the reproducer, the arm, it's an entire unit. I think it's worthwhile, let's take the grill off and show how this is one giant unit basically, and the horn and reproducer travel together with a feed screw that's engaged in the motor. So the motor itself runs this across the grooves at the right pace, and it's gentler on the record grooves, as well as it's a patent issue probably at the time. So to get it to play, you need to eyeball the stylus to where the grooves begin, and then you slowly lower it onto the record surface by lifting the wood knob. So there you have how to control it. You see, you control it with this lever, and pulling this up lowers the reproducer down onto the record, and pushing it back down actually pulls it back up. This is stop, and there you have it. Now, if you have records that have a lot of edge chips, this one just has a tiny chip, that's not too bad. But if you have a lot of damage on the rim, I would recommend not playing them, because as you lower the stylus, if it hits something, some damaged portion of the record, you could easily damage that diamond stylus. And as I said, it's not an easy repair, and it's not a cheap repair. So if it does have a good stylus, do take care of it. And so I would avoid playing any records with obvious damage, and you will sadly come across a lot of Edison records that have lamination cracks and damage and chipping, but I would really strongly recommend not playing those records. Only play ones that are nice and clean and no major damage. One thing you might come across if you're looking at Edison diamond disc phonographs in the wild, you may find it with this and an accessory, which is something like this. They often look different, but they're basically the same. This is to play competitors' records like Victor records or Columbia records. It's a very different format, but by putting this, taking that reproducer out and using this, you can play the standard shellac 78 with steel needles on this. Now, do not use one of these to play an Edison record. It will ruin it. That is standard Edison equipment right there. But if you want to make it so that your machine will play Victor records, Columbia records, and the variety of other lateral recordings made from, 1900-ish to 1950-ish, you can play them with this. It's a fun accessory to have. A lot of times you'll find machines that only have this and will be missing that Edison reproducer, because when they quit making Edison records in 1929, and maybe even before that, when they kind of fell out of vogue, a lot of people got one of these adapters and used this machine just to play the more common and longer lasting format of standard lateral 78 recordings. So you may encounter one or both of these on a machine. It's really nice to have that accessory. But I tend to think Edison phonographs should be used for Edison records. That's where they show off their fidelity the most. So hopefully you will find a machine with a nice original diamond reproducer with a nice original sharp diamond. If not, don't panic. There's plenty of people out there that can fix it. But if you're looking at buying it or just repairing it, do consider the amount of repair cost on one of these. So that's about it. That's the basics of it. And I hope you enjoy the wild and wacky world of Edison recordings as much as I do. They are fun. I hope this helped. Thank you.